Hello everybody, this is Arid. In-game name is September on the Thunderwing, the Nui, and the public test server. In this video, what I want to do is cover the state of the game post-July update 2018 and take a look at the future of ArcheAge. Well, it wasn't but just 3 months ago when I released a video about the state of the game for 4.5. Now this video encapsulated the hardships of the fresh start, kind of like the rough start that they had and the fixes to those issues that arose. I also briefly spoke about the life on the legacy server and how it was once again affected by the fresh start servers. You actually can see a cycle of new fresh start servers and then legacy server merges, as this is something that's happened twice before. Every time with a fresh start, they promise something better or something new for returning players, ultimately leaving the legacy players feeling just a little bit abandoned. Well, unlike the 2 times prior, I actually personally was at a point where I felt I wanted to participate in the fresh start and all the hype that inevitably churns around these fresh start servers. And let me just say right here that I admit I had some of the most fun I've ever had in ArcheAge in these first few months. It was fun again, being a noob, figuring out ways to make money, earning Apex to secure my future, and all the things that come in a fresh start environment. But just like the legacy servers, the fun was short-lived. Soon I had thoughts of having to log in, to burn my labor, to do my grinding, or to do my dailies. All that set in. It becomes a thing that we force upon ourselves to essentially keep up with others. And while I do recognize that those expectations are self-imposed, I also feel like the game itself somewhat pushes us to this specific case, gives you those sorts of feelings, which are, I must earn Apex, I must do my dailies, I must do these dungeons, I must do 2 hours of crate farming or Hiram farming every day, else I'm going to be left behind. And you know what? That is actually okay by me if I am in fact having fun doing those activities as I did around the launch. Now, while we're talking about the fresh start, I also want to look at the future of this game. It has never been so clear as it is now to me that XL has considered that the legacy servers are failed. They have tried in some cases, like in the trade changes that came out in 3.0, to revamp these servers in an effort to balance them out, but nothing they have done has fixed the problems, which I have to remind you that they cause amongst themselves. Now, how they cause those, I will expand on that point here in a minute, but the changes that they have made to almost every profession, whether you're going to speak about larceny or commerce or crafting, insert profession here, or even exploration, they all have been what we can only perceive as a nerf in an attempt to balance them for the greater good. But all these attempts in our region, North America / EU, have only left the legacy servers shells of their former selves, and players past and present mostly resenting their time in game. Now, before I get into how XL and Tryon have self-inflicted these issues on themselves, I want to make something very clear here. I have nothing but the utmost respect for my fellow gamers and my followers. And what I say here is not anything but my opinion and should not be seen as anything more than that. If you are having fun, by God, keep having fun. That is what games are for. And don't let anybody's opinion on a situation dictate the choices that you have when it comes to something you enjoy, my opinion included. For if anything I say squashes a tiny little bit of your fun, then I have failed in what I am attempting to do. Okay, with that said, I would like to now speak about the problems as I see them with ArcheAge and why those problems are self-inflicted by both Tryon and XL specifically in our region. To do that, I would like to talk about the Hiram gear versus crafted gear, because nothing that is in-game could better exemplify this thought more easily. Hiram Gear is by design a traditional MMORPG set of armors and weapons. In that, if you are to earn the best stats that those items have to offer, you, yourself, for the most part, have to put in the time. You have earned that set of armor with very few exceptions, all on your own. You have spent the time farming for the drops. You have spent the time farming for the awakened scrolls. You have spent your time leveling that gear. It is a process in which today's culture, people probably don't realize that it was a long standing tradition in traditional MMORPGs. That is the grind. You ask gamers a generation prior to probably the people that are playing this game now about the grind, like in games like EverQuest or Ultima Online or Lineage 2 or Asheron's Call, and you will hear stories in which you cannot imagine that they are true. To that I say, it is true, and it was true. The grind was real, but the grind in those games was something that everybody had to do, making this essentially fair and, more importantly, fun. Now let me talk about crafted gear. Crafted gear in ArcheAge is essentially the pay-to-win mechanic of the modern gaming era. This is not to say that if you have crafted gear, you are a pay-to-win player. Only that crafted gear by design makes it a possibility. Because crafted gear is tradable, it allows for a person simply to spend money in the marketplace to obtain the gold needed to buy this gear in a very short order. Coupled with the crazy RNG mechanics of regrading, which is akin to gambling, the crafted gear at levels of legendary or better is nearly all but only obtainable by those players willing to spend a load of real-life money to obtain it. When you have legendary weapons and armor pieces going for around 50,000 to 60,000 gold, you can only view this gear as a pay-to-win type of item. You have to come to the conclusion, you have to realize that 50,000 gold would be enough for at least 25 Apex, which is essentially enough Apex to pay for a subscription to ArcheAge for a whole year. Now, if you take this thought even further, that is only one piece, one item that you would have to secure for your character. Consider, if you will, a two-handed weapon or one off-handed weapon and one main-handed weapon. Add in a bow, add in an instrument, and finally a 7-piece armor set. Now you can multiply that cost by 10 times or more, ultimately coming up with at least 250 Apex. That means that that is enough for 10 years of patron time, and likely an expense that is going to last longer than the game itself. Now, I'm not trying to say if you have crafted Ionad or Aranor gear that you're a pay-to-win player, but crafted armor lends itself to this label, which is why I wanted to showcase it. There are, of course, players who have spent very little on this game that have attained this gear all on their own, but exceptions to the rules only help prove the rule. There is a greater picture which I intend on painting here. This is why I talked about crafted armor in the terms of gold cost and then related that to the value of Apex, which is this because I could. What I mean by that is ArcheAge itself allows you to buy and sell Apex. In that it is a free-to-play model, which XL has chosen to use, you can buy and sell Apex in ArcheAge because ArcheAge is free-to-play. What that means to XL is somebody needs to pay for those quote-unquote free-to-play players. And if you're like me, having spent any money in this game, that is you, friendo. The paying players paying for non-paying players is actually not something new or even unique to the gaming world. It is, however, the perversion of that mechanic that I actually take issue with. At some point, the marketing department at Excel, and to a lesser degree Tryon, has decided that there is a whole lot more money making potential in this sort of monetization than any of the other options that are available. When ArcAge first came out, the amount of money thrown at this game would probably make EA Games and Battlefront 2 wet themselves with envy. However, as you know, that was short-lived. Millions of players in our region, many of whom spent a great deal of money, has to a degree allowed this game to actually survive as long as it has. And likely it will continue on for a bit more time. The problem with this is that it also cemented that way of thinking or monetization into the brains of those who make the decisions at these companies. For a company to survive, it must make money, and for a company to thrive, it must make a lot of money, and right now, those people don't know any different. What I'm actually seeing is ArcAge having been the main funding source for many of Excel's failures. ArcAge Mobile. Did you know that game existed? If you did you play it? Yeah, me neither. How about Civilization Online? Well, that never made it out of the beta stage in Asia, and it closed before it even launched in December 2016. Finally, how about Brave's mobile game? Yeah, as far as I can tell, that's another dud thrown up by Excel that was never ever released. You can see ArcAge and the money that it was generating not only has kept Excel in business, but it also has funded a slew of games that never made it to market. What Excel did was not reinvest the money that the only game that they have generating money, but instead used it to what we can amount it to in ArcAge terms as a major failure trying to regrade their Mythic Obsidian armor. They shot their wad for a Mythic regrade instead of working on their other pieces of armor. Essentially, the simile that I am trying to draw is instead of investing in ArcAge, Excel Games spent all their money on turds. So what we have left with is Excel's only viable game, and then we've got this recent news of Jake Song taking over as the lead producer of ArcAge in Korea. Why? Well, because that was likely his only option. The money that he had made was wasted. The great game that could have been ArcAge was left in shambles. With the legacy server population only a small, I repeat this, a small fraction of what they once were, their only hope or recovery is actually not a recovery at all. It is actually to do things differently from here on out, which is where this last version of Fresh Start servers come in. They are hoping that if they take away all the mechanics of ArcAge that made people enjoy the legacy servers and rework them so that they all take more time or more real-life money to achieve the same results, it will provide them the stability and the money that they need so they can craft another, to use the same metaphor, epic obsidian piece of armor and try to regrade it once again. So what is the state of ArcAge in our region? Well, I can only say that it is, by all accounts, in the death throes. It is grasping for straws, trying to survive. The people left are probably really more dedicated than ever, and as one of them, I also had to make some very hard decisions as it's going to turn out to be. I had to ask myself if I want to dig in and ride this bad boy through till the end or simply move on. I had to ask myself as a creator, have I done everything I could possibly do to help this game that I love so much survive? Have I treated my followers and my supporters with the utmost dignity and been a positive force for as long as I could? Is there anything more that I could do to help? Do they even want my help? Well, to all those questions, except for the last one, I think the answer, I hope everybody agrees, is yes. I have done everything I can. I have offered myself nearly completely to the ArcAge experience with no expectations of anything in return. I have listened to my followers and I have listened to my supporters, and I have generated what I hope is better and better content. I have grown as a person, learning and teaching as I went. I actually do not regret anything that I have done. I'm better for having done it. But there is one thing left unanswered, and so I will once again put myself out there with no expectations of a response or a return to my efforts. The question left is, do they even want my help? Help which I have offered to them freely and without so much as recognition in the past. I'll do that once again. I have stated this stuff in the past, but one must also always consider timing when saying such things, and perhaps those times were not the best, and perhaps this time is not it either. But as this may be my last ArcAge video ever, it is my only option, so here we are. If Excel and Trion wishes to salvage what is left of ArcAge, they need to fundamentally shift their marketing. Stop treating this game like a cash cow that it once was. It's not a place to milk the innocent gamer for every penny they can. And treat them gamers like they are. That is, people looking for fun, not another bad habit. ArcAge has in every single case of Fresh Start presented the team at Excel and Trion the very opportunity to do this, which they have passed on time and time again, opting in favor of another cash grab that ArcAge has become synonymous with. I can think of no better opportunity to do this than that of the Fresh Starts. However, each and every time a Fresh Start server has come along, the marketing departments go into full bait and switch mode. They lie to us, having only the same sour mechanics crop up in the game every single time. What it's going to take, in my opinion, is a very high level of admission of guilt on the part of Jake Song that what they did was greedy and one-sided, followed up with a commitment to relaunch the game without those mechanics, nor ever the possibility of them being reintroduced. Trim the staff if need be, trim the budget if need be, but remove the cash grab mechanics and give gamers what they want. A game that is fun, challenging, and without bias towards whether they have a good credit rating or not. We are gamers playing for entertainment, to enjoy a slice of life away from the real world, to escape for a moment into a fantasy and an adventure. We will gladly give you some of our money for this privilege, but we shouldn't have to give you all of it. So there you are, XL. This is my last advice, my last plea to you, if you will. You have been at these crossroads many times before, and you have always failed the test of humility. Most companies don't even get the opportunity to give this thing a fourth shot, but you milk this hard enough, so you got it. You still have that chance. You have a chance to come big this time. Make the changes that we, as a community, deserve. Nobody whom I have ever spoken with that has left ArcAge has said ArcAge is a bad game, only that it was horribly mismanaged, aka marketed. If you want my help, want to know what people have said to me, all the data that I have collected over 4 years of watching my guildmates, my friends, and fellow creators leave this game, I just gave it to you free of charge. The proverbial ball is now in your court. Well, my Arcade friends, this is September, thanking you all one last time for the continued support that you have offered me. I hope that I have, as I always strive to do, provided information that is both helpful and informative. For me, I'm going to continue to be a creator here on YouTube, and I am 100% open to coming back to Arcade in some form if my advice rings true to the powers that be. I, however, cannot in good conscience continue on this path when I no longer find enjoyment in it, and I do not agree with these companies' overall philosophies. So I ask you, if you would like to continue to support me, your mission, if you will, is to share this video to the highest extent of your abilities, because only by sheer force of numbers do I feel this advice has any hope of making a difference. So share, like, and comment, as this may be the only last big push that I have in me. Until next time, this is September saying, be well.